Welcome back to another episode of Coaching in the Car. This is episode 19, always brought to you by coachingprocesswins.com. I'm driving south from San Jose, California, down to Monterey Bay, California, and it's a beautiful sight and a beautiful day as always. Want to get in and talk a little leadership, a little ball with you, and been out of pocket for 2 days and excited to just discuss and get on with this. There's been a few things that I've been thinking about that might help a coach out there and help a leader out there, and I think that if you apply these things, you'll improve. And always my take on things that I share, Lord knows I've made mistakes with zeros behind it. And I've caught myself doing this from time to time. And when I make the mistake, I want to try to improve as a leader, as a coach. And that's what I hope to be able to impart a lot of the time here on Coaching in the Car. Let's talk about being efficient with your words. I talk about words a lot. I believe that words are important. Words matter. And usually I talk about words in terms of being encouraging, being sincere, and how you coach people up and how you can coach people down. Lead them up and lead them down with the words you use. But what about efficiency of words? I roll it up into one phrase. Are you talking your people to death? I'll tell you what, and I've said this before, 90% are going to walk away and forget 90% of what you said 9 seconds after you say it. So you have to be efficient with your words. So when you're teaching a concept, when you're driving home a point, I think the efficiency of words and how you communicate are extremely important in the time that you spend to get things done to get to the end product. So let's take the coaching process. The first time that you meet with the team, you meet with your room, you're setting the picture, you're setting the vision for the week and how it's going to end at the end of the game time or whatever period you may be in of off season, in season, etc. But you begin that new thing with setting that vision for what's going to go on. And once you do that, you pick one or two things that are real high, that can be remembered, that can be repeated, that can be gone to sleep with at night. When that team member, that kid, hits a pillow at night, they're going to have something resonate that's going to lead them to that end process that you want. So you have to be careful, you have to be concise, you have to be deliberate with the words you use. And I'll get back to word efficiency. Nobody cares all the things that you have to say. Get on with what you need to say and say it when you're addressing the team. I want to really land on how that's done once you get into the field or on the field. And I'm not talking about game, I'm talking about preparation processes here. I feel like in terms of having word efficiency, you come up with one-word describers to teach a technique, to teach a way of doing things. And the best way that I can describe these one-word efficiencies or these one-word techniques that spark a lot going on in that physical act. Let's take the act of sprinting. So I'm teaching an athlete how to be a better sprinter. Let's don't get into the semantics of some guys are fast, some guys are slow, etc. We're talking about being a better sprinter, having good form, not wasted form, in terms of teaching the techniques of being a sprinter, a runner, getting faster. And I'm not sure where I can credit this to. I can't credit very few things to me, but in one off season, we're trying to look at different ways to get our kids faster. We felt like in order to get them faster, they had to be, more efficient form runners. Teach them the right form. Some kids swing their arms like they're a wash tub. Some kids are fighting with their head, and their head's bobbing up and down. And there's a lot of wasted motion. Kids in the United States, this might be just a little bit of a sidetrack. Growing up, in terms of PE classes, first grade, second grade, third grade, kids are out there playing freeze tag or dodgeball or something like that. It's more fun in games than athleticism, if you will. In European countries, kids are taught to properly run, properly jump, and that's something in the United States we don't really do. So I don't want to get sidetracked on that. So by the time you get a kid in high school, sometimes the time you get a kid in college, the way they run has been so ingrained in them that they're not nearly as fast as they could be if they're not utilizing the proper form. So some proper form techniques are paramount. I'm getting to the point about using word efficiencies. How do you coach a kid as he's coming out of the start and he's sprinting for 40 yards? You can't stop him midway and say, all right, Johnny, do this with your head, do this with your arms, do this with your hands, do this with your knees, do this with your toes. You can't do that. You've got to give quick, descriptive, one-word commands that get them to correct what they're doing inefficiently. Let's start from the head and go down to the waist, just in the upper body. It takes more correct form in the upper body than it actually takes in the lower body to be a faster, more efficient runner. This is not a podcast about how to get fast. It's a illustration, if you will, about being an efficient coach, an efficient teacher, utilizing one-word commands to create a correction and to make the action that is wrong into an action that is correct, and having that accountability to be able to see that it has been corrected. Let's start with the eyes. In good sprinting form, a sprinter, and if you'll look at your next Olympic trials, in the Olympics, and let's look at the 100-yard dash. Elite sprinters have a gaze that is on the target, through the target, by another 50 yards. They pick a point beyond their lane 150 yards down, and their gaze is constantly on that. Their eyes are fixed upon that point, because where the eyes go, the head goes. So as I see a sprinter, a kid I'm teaching to run, and his head's bobbing side to side or up and down, I'll say eyes. And what I want them to do is fix their eyes at that end target. If it's a 40-yard dash, pick a 60-yard point, 20 yards beyond the 40-yard dash finish, and fix on that. And what that does is it creates the lack of movement in the head that makes him a more efficient runner. That's just by you saying eyes. So he's running and he's going fast. Eyes. When I see that Johnny is extremely busy in his head. Another thing you'll notice in runners is their mouth. A lot of them want to clench their teeth and grimace in their jaw by gritting their teeth, clenching their teeth, grimacing, if you will. What that does is creates tightness in the neck and in the shoulders, and essentially from that area all the way down, it creates a tightness in which you're not as fluid in your upper body. And so a runner is taught to keep a slightly open mouth, not almost to where you could fit your tongue, although you don't want to bite your tongue, almost to where it's the size of where you could fit your tongue between your teeth, to keep your mouth slightly open when you run. It creates a relaxed neck, upper chest area. So when I see the kid running and boom, he's come out, everything's looking good, but I see that teeth grit, and a lot of that's happening in the last 10 yards as he's straining to finish hard, I'll say, mouth. And it gives him that cue word to relax, keep that mouth slightly open, and it makes him more efficient. I'll get down to, I'm going to skip ahead. Let's get to hands. A runner wants to run as if you have a potato chip held by your thumb and forefinger. Now you take a Pringle potato chip. You can paint this word picture in your mind right now. Take a Pringle potato chip, pretend like you're holding it between your thumb and your forefinger. You want to hold, but you don't want to squeeze. A squeeze will break that chip. Well, if you have that light touch of thumb and forefinger, what you're not getting is a clenched fist. A lot of kids you'll see run with a clenched fist. Again, what does that do? It tightens the arms and the elbows all the way up to the shoulders. What does that do? It restrains the runner from being able to stride out. It makes them tight upper body and makes them where they're more choppy and not fluid and not athletic. And so when I start to see the clench of the fist, and I see how that's restraining them from a fluid upper body movement, I'll say hands. And that cues them back into how I want them to hold their hands and have that visual there. Oh, I'm holding a Pringles potato chip between my thumb and my forefinger. Now, all this is taught beforehand. Eyes, mouth, hands. Those one-word efficiencies paint a word picture for the kid to be able to do things. I'm not talking them to death. I'm not over-coaching. I'm not holding him back from performing. I'm giving him these one words to create a teaching, a method in which he becomes a better athlete. He becomes a more fluid athlete, and he gets more reps doing it. He's doing, not being told. Big difference. I've walked, in the position I'm in now, I get to watch a lot of practices, and I get to watch a lot of coaching methods. And we're talking about from the little guys all the way up to the big guys. And the best field teachers are guys that are out there getting reps. Things aren't being stopped. Everybody's not on hold because you're talking to one kid or that coach is talking to one kid and everybody else is standing around. There's movement. There's activity. There's reps. People are coaching on the run. Mark that one down. People are coaching on the run. People are coaching with urgency because they've taught these one-word efficiencies. And kids are able to adjust. They're able to do the proper things because that brings back to their memory what they have to correct. That's practice. I equate it to a defensive lineman. We came up with an acronym, SARK-1, one place I was, and SARK-1, S-A-R-K, the number 1, SARK-1. We felt like if we could be good before the snap, it didn't really matter how good of an athlete you are, you could do the following things correctly. And if you could do these things correctly, then your athleticism, your training, your technique would take over. But everybody could be perfect on S of SARK-1, stance. Everybody could be perfect on number 2, A, alignment. So they could be perfect in how they align on defense. Third, R of SARK-1. They know their responsibility. You have quarterback in the option, etc. You have C-gap. You have the deep third. So everybody can know their responsibility. K of SARK-1. Key. What are you keying as soon as the ball is snapped to let you know what you need to do within your assignment? 1 of SARK-1 would be first step. What's your first step that's going to put you in the right position to make a play, do your job, fulfill your responsibility to the team defensive structure? So we would say SARK-1. And, Johnny was SARK-1. He's right there mentally checking stance, alignment. Do I know my responsibility? What's my key? How am I going to do the first step? Or we could break any of those down, and Johnny, instead of being in a 3 technique, he was in a 1 technique. Johnny, what's your alignment? Adjust. 3 technique, as an example. So we would have one-word efficiencies to get the job done and carry out the assignments that we needed to carry out. How does this apply to being a leader? I think, a leader delegates, especially when you have a larger team, and you give your subordinate, your people, that thing. You don't micromanage it. You say, this is what we're going to do, and that's what you expect to be done. And you're not talking them through it. You're not hand-holding them through it. Here's what it is. Let them go get their job done. Now, bring it back. Let's evaluate it, and then let's make adjustments. Therefore, you've got people doing what they do best. You've hired them to do that. And they're able to have that freedom to go out there and do it. None of this is getting pissed off about making a mistake. None of it's getting pissed off about not doing it the correct way. And we can it's a whole different talk if we want to talk about effort, if we want to talk about hustle, if we want to talk about hard work. Those things are expected. But when I teach, when I coach, when I instruct, when I give instructions, I want to be efficient in what I say and what I expect. A lot of talk has been going around, and the gentleman that made this for the military never really wrote it in a book, and a lot of it's been analyzed, but it's the OODA loop. And that can be put into 4 words, this military plan of plan, do, check, and act. Here's the plan. Go do it. Let's check that's being done correctly, and then let's act upon it. So that's your Monday through Friday agenda and process of getting ready for a game. It's your process of getting your team ready to roll out a new product in your business. Let's plan it. Let's do. Let's check that things are going right and having those processes in place. And then let's act to get this out the door or to get it into the game and make the effort there in the game to have victory. So I want you to think about how you communicate with your team. Are you talking them to death? Is everybody standing around while one kid's being corrected and nobody else is doing a darn thing? Coach on the run. Coach with some impatience. Demand that the job get done, but do it in an efficient way. I've painted the picture of just, testing the speed, eyes, mouth, hands. That corrects a lot of things in a quick way that makes things get done much more efficiently, much better. Sorry about my grammar. Got to be more efficient in my words. So I'm always checking myself on this and love to share it with you. If you have some methods about how you teach and how you're efficient, how you get things done, and your people are responding, I'd love to hear them. Always get us on Twitter is probably the easiest way. Process2win. That's at process, the number 2win on Twitter. So DM us if you got anything. If we can do anything better, let us know. If we're not getting the job done, let us know. Well, keep on listening to us on Coaching in the Car. Until next time, adios.